Okay, we're back to talk about Task, episode 6 of the first season, Out Beyond Ideas of Wrongdoing and Right Doing. There is a River. This episode written by Brad Inglesby, directed by Sally Richardson Whitfield. All right, buckle up. This episode opens with a shootout between Robbie, the FBI, and the Dark Hearts members who have all converged at the cabin in the woods. Tom is attacked in the cabin by Perry. Kathleen is shot in the shoulder. Grasso, Lizzie, and Leah get into a gunfight with Dark Hearts members, and Jason and Robbie battle after Robbie throws the bag he was carrying into the river. During the shootout, Robbie is stabbed and dies at Tom's arms on the way to the hospital. Kathleen's incapacitated. Aaliyah kills several of the Dark Hearts Club members. Lizzie is hit and killed by the truck that Jason and Perry are driving. Jason and Perry then manage to get away. Because an officer died, the FBI has to open an investigation and tells Tom that the task force has ended now that Sam is in child services. Tom tells Maeve about Robbie's death, then helps convince the district attorney that Maeve had nothing to do with any of the crimes and they should not prosecute her. Tom then decides to take Sam home. Emily and Sarah question how he could make such a decision like that. Tom visits Kathleen and learns that Grasso had some things in his past that could lead to him being a mole, but Kath advises Tom to drop it. Instead of dropping it, Tom goes to Grasso's house, tells him that Lizzie would still be alive if someone hadn't changed the FBI's initial drug bust plan in the park. Grasso won't admit he had anything to do with it, but Tom gives him a warning and says, I'm coming for you. Jason and Perry, while they're still in hiding, recover the bag that Robbie threw in the river, but it's a decoy full of magazines. And it's revealed that Robbie's plan all along was to work with Shelley to sell the drugs. At the end of the episode, Shelley drops off a huge bag of money for Maeve, Wyatt, and Harper. Wow, lot of stuff here. We
Yeah.
speculated about how long this action sequence would last, how much time would be spent in the woods. It was a full 18-minute stretch before we even got the title card about this for the show. And again, I know I keep coming back to this, but much like his past show, Mayor of Easttown, you thought the resolution was coming, and there's still a lot more to do because we have a lot to do here in the finale.
Yeah, we do. We were speculating last week about the possibility that the finale would focus on the fallout was the term I kept using, which I think I'll stick to. I don't feel like that's wrong in a meaningful way.
Yeah,
At one point, I might have used the term denouement. I don't think it's a denouement exactly. You know what I mean? Because as you say, there's still stuff that needs to be hashed out. Um, Kind of quite a bit that's outstanding, right? I
yeah,
mean, for one, you've got Jason and Perry out there as fugitives. The authorities are after them, and so on. There's also the dynamic between them, the question about what happened to Erin, which Jason is very worried about because she's just disappeared. Of course, we know
yeah.
Perry killed her. So you'd expect that there will be some resolution on that front. And then arguably the main thing, which is how Tom has figured out that Grasso
Yeah.
was the mole and so on and so forth, right? We're not done there.
And I think also don't forget, or we can't forget the fact that we have a whole another level of conflict that's been introduced here. I don't think Maeve just gets a free bag of money with nobody coming to look for her, no one wondering where that is, no one, trying to figure out now that they've been double crossed, Jason and Perry, they're going to try to track it down. I mean, they know who was behind this. They know if he didn't throw the drugs in the river, he must have done something with them. So
Yeah,
I think Maeve's in big trouble now. I mean, we didn't expect that at the beginning or at the end of episode 5.
yeah, at least potentially, unless Jason and Perry get arrested first, maybe.
Yeah.
Who, so who knows? We really, um, we haven't done a very good job of predicting this show, but that's a compliment, I
That
think,
is a
right?
compliment.
So
Yeah. Kudos to Brad
there's,
Igglesby because it's been ahead of us the whole time. Yeah.
and everything, but everything's worked. You know what I mean? But yeah, quite a lot out there. And then the stuff with Sam, like that's something else I didn't really see coming.
Right.
But we were talking about, the how it would kind of connect up between Tom's family life
Hmm.
and the rest of the story and the case and so on. And this is certainly one way in which it's doing so because he says, he's able to take Sam home from that facility because he's still on the books as a foster parent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And I wonder now, will we see something related to his adopted son who is about to undergo his sentencing? Does he see Sam as sort of I get to have a second chance with someone, or I get to, have a chance to make things right? Does he go and finally see his son who's in prison? I think now, I was sort of questioning this last week. Now I sort of see the connective tissue of how this is all being put together. If this all gets resolved, at least that line gets resolved next week.
Yeah, I'm sure there must be something coming along those lines. I do question the wisdom of going to Grasso's house and telling him, quote, "I'm coming for
By
you."
yourself, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I learned that this guy who is a cop also has connections with this dangerous motorcycle gang.
Yep.
Let me go all by myself and tell him, I figured out that you're a bad guy. I'm coming for you, mister. It doesn't feel like the best plan. We also saw the guy who, oh man, should have made a note of his name. I thought I was just going to remember his name.
Oh, like his
Um,
his boss,
yeah, it's
Grasso's
like
boss,
Bagsley or something like that.
Michael Dorsey.
Yeah, okay. Who also is the one who signed off that he was cleared on the previous thing. So he's involved here. He's someone who's in a position of some authority, however that goes. Um, and it remains a question for me as to whether Kath is um, corrupt along these lines, as we've talked about the last couple of weeks.
I that's still on the table, I think. We have not certainly been cleared from that. I mean, she had to ultimately sign off on the task force. So, yeah, I don't think it's 100% either way right now.
Yeah, I mean, you might, I don't know, just watching the show, it might feel like, oh, well, she's clearly a good guy. She's out there in the woods with the good guys, shooting against the bad guys, and she gets shot and all of that. But I don't know that anything has cleared her of that suspicion. As we were
Nope.
talking about last week, I mean, it was a couple of weeks ago when she made that phone call, but it's still sticking in my mind the fact that she made that phone call and said, "It's me.
It's
We may
me.
have a problem." And the "it's
Yes.
me" part of it, I think, really does feed into the
And I
suspicion,
think,
as we were
well,
talking
yeah, I
about
do.
last week.
I can see how last week they tried to misdirect us by the internal affairs guy, the guy who was wearing the suit, coming and saying, "Okay, yeah, this is what we talked about. We may have a problem," and like, okay, that was who the phone call was to. But I think that could be a red herring trying to distract us from what actually Cass' motivations are.
Yeah, we don't know. So we'll see, but I certainly wouldn't be surprised if we find out next week, where there's some moment like maybe it's like they're gonna nail Grasso, and then somehow we find out that Kath is also corrupt or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Again, we've done a poor job of predicting what's gonna happen, so who knows? But definitely still in my mind. Let's go back. We kind of started at the end. Um, there are various things to talk about here. And I want to be sure to talk about Robbie and the impact of his death. Great performance, great character throughout the show.
Yeah.
We also want to talk about his plan. But maybe this is a good time to do the poem.
Yeah, yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. The title of this episode, Beyond Ideas of Wrongdoing and Rightdoing, There is a River, and you have found where this originally comes from, this poem.
Yeah. So this is a poem by Rumi, as he's known, 13th century Sufi mystic. I don't know if people are familiar with Rumi. Um, but so the original poem is a little different. And of course, this wasn't written in English. This is a translation.
Right.
But I'll go ahead and read it because it's pretty short. And I don't know, maybe there's some things to think about here, or at least, I don't know. I enjoy the thematic resonance, if nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So here's
Mm-hmm.
the poem. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. That's it. Thoughts about it?
Yeah, no, it's interesting. There's sort of that. I've read a little bit about this poem, sort of its origins. You mentioned coming from Rumi, mentioning it coming from 13th century. Just the idea of, in that short phrase there, the poem there, how many times we sort of see something about coming together, being together with each other, lie down with you. Um, this idea that being together, meeting someone in a place, um, I thought about specifically Tom and Robbie when I read this poem, right? This
Yeah.
idea of two men wildly different in their backgrounds, wildly different in what their intentions and motivations are, wildly different in what they're trying to do, but they're still out beyond this place trying to find some way to connect, trying to find a way to empathize with one another. And we see specifically Tom do the thing he promised to Robbie about protecting Maeve. I think there's something bigger than just the I'm the good guy, you're the bad guy, I'm after you. He's found something larger than that. I think that's represented at least somewhat in this poem.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was thinking about too. The connection between Tom and Robbie, which lands and you see
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
But I think it is meaningfully beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing. I mean, you got the good guy, you got the bad guy, but the kind of connection between them, I think. Look, what I want to say in terms of relating this to the poem is also this bit, right? That it's almost like you can't articulate what that is,
Yeah.
right? Um, between them, it's beyond um, language in a certain way.
Yeah.
But at the same time, in seeing it in the context of the story, it definitely works and lands. I mean, Tom is really sad when Robbie dies in that car, and
Absolutely.
is
Yeah.
really trying to save his life.
It's beyond a level of understanding. You understand as we've hinted at here, I'm the good guy, you're the bad guy, I'm after you, we're on opposite sides. But to go beyond that to this level of care and compassion for understanding why they're doing what they're doing, that's sort of the beyond, the out past the right doing and the wrongdoing. And be able to sort of synthesize that into these very few moments that Tom and Robbie have together. I mean, I think powerful how they're able to do it, despite it being really a very small fraction of the time in this series.
Yeah, yeah. And so clearly they're alluding to this moment. I mean, there is a river as opposed to there is a field, but
Right.
okay, yeah, most of the action's taking place out there by the river, in the river, and so on. Um, so it would seem Robbie's plan was indeed to sell the drugs through Ray's wife, Shelley,
Yeah.
which we said last week didn't seem like a good plan, but seemed like a better plan. Can we piece together what his exact plan was? Like, if we presume if the FBI hadn't been involved,
Yeah.
what was Robbie planning to do?
So my understanding of this is we just saw this scene with him and Shelley saying, I can help you sell the dope.
Yeah.
He's saying, why can I trust you? We think this is a bad idea. We presume as an audience, as viewers, this is a horrible idea. This is just the people that tried to rob you of these drugs, right? And so we don't see any end to that. We don't actually see what his decision is there. Clearly, his decision was to say, okay, I'm going to go give Shelley the drugs, try to trust her, maybe give her a cut of whatever it is she can sell them for. She's going to go work with, I guess, Frankie to sell these things because she can have that in with him and then take the decoy bag out with him to the river, knowing that Jason and Perry are going to follow him and go wherever that bag goes. He Ocean's Elevens them, with this bag full of magazines, and all the while, I have to shout out listening to the Watch podcast about this episode, and they made a good point. This episode is so propulsive and has so much action, so much going on. Like I completely forgot about Shelley, forgot about that whole thing happening until she turns up at the end. You're like, oh yeah, there was a conversation
Mm-hmm.
there where Robbie was considering this, and it turns out that's what he decided to do.
Yeah, so I got that part. And I do think it was, I believe that she was going to sell it to some other guy named Lee who we have not
Hmm.
seen.
Okay, so
Right,
not Frankie.
right, right. Um, which is, I mean, I think that's important to note. I guess I don't know if we're ever going to see Lee.
Yeah,
He's going to
yeah,
factor into the story next week. It's possible. But so yeah, it would seem okay. So Robbie says, okay, yeah, we'll do that and we'll get the money. But then his plan becomes to go to Frankie, is the other guy's name, right? Yeah, as you've been saying. Um, knowing that he's going to tip off the dark hearts
Yes, yes.
to set up this confrontation at the cabin.
I think his plan is to die. I think that he doesn't see any way out of that at that point. After he has set up his family, I think he knows he's going to die.
And so he just wants to kill Jason. He just wants to kill
Yeah,
as many
just
dark
I'm going to
hearts as
try to
possible.
take Jason out at the same time. I know I'm going to die, but I just try to get Jason as I go.
Yeah, I guess.
Get them far away from the drugs, get them far away from the money. But yeah, I have to think, I mean, I believe that Robbie knows that the Dark Hearts know that he's involved in all of this, and so therefore there's family left for them to go after. Maybe this the sense of, well, they'll be, the FBI will be after them if the FBI comes in as a part of this as well, so they won't be able to go get Maeve and the kids. It certainly is an innovative plan. I don't know if it was the best plan for his family.
Okay, yeah, no, so I think I got it right because the plan doesn't involve the FBI being there. But this is part of what was hanging me up a little bit because, in a lot of ways, I think the FBI being there does not really get in the way of his plan. Um, Part of me was wondering, was he always planning on throwing that bag in the river? I kind of think maybe he was
Yeah,
planning on that
has to be.
too.
Yeah.
But what I just realized is Jason is very stupid
Hmm.
in this scene at the very beginning, right? You've got the standoff between Tom and Robbie where we ended last week, and the Dark Hearts are approaching. Perry is smart here and saying, all right, retreat, get out of here. The feds
Yes.
are here.
Right.
That's no good, right? But Jason can't help himself and tries to shoot Robbie anyway, and that sets the whole thing off where you've got this shootout between the Dark Hearts and the FBI, and Robbie's caught in the middle of that and all of that, right?
Yeah.
But if Robbie's plan was to lure the Dark Hearts there to kill as many of them as possible, and primarily Jason, if Jason hadn't been stupid and
Yep.
if he'd listened to Perry, then the FBI would have ruined his plan.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's exactly it. And I think Jason starting that shootout worked even better for Robbie's plan than he would have ever hoped because now he's got sort of two outs for making his plan work. They get away from the FBI. Jason and Perry are able to get free of them, but they chase their tails trying to find this bag in the river. Or if they escape, which they do, now the FBI is after them because they started a shootout with the FBI, and so they're not going to go spend their time looking for Maeve. So Robbie can do his plan either way.
Yeah, okay, I think that's right. I think we got it. How, I mean, this is another thing to circle back around to suspicions on Kath. How Perry and Jason are eluding the FBI is something of a
Yeah, where
question.
I've seen references to there at Donna's house, but it's like, isn't Donna a known sort of collaborator with the Dark Arts? Why would they go? Why would they go there? Where are they hiding exactly?
I'm not sure where they are. I don't know if I don't are they at Donna's house? I'm
I
really
have
not
no
sure.
idea. I have no idea.
But they're definitely like at a house, you know what I mean? And so if there's any connection between that house and the Dark Hearts, yeah, you'd think that the authorities would be able to track that down.
Exactly.
So, maybe not. Maybe they have been savvy enough to have some hideout, but they're also, I don't know, they're also right by the river still looking for the
Yeah.
bag.
Yeah. They're not going far. I mean, they're trying to find this bag. So they're going out at night on the stretch of the river that's not far from where the shootout just happened. So
Yeah, so like you think that the authorities would be scouring that exact area.
yeah.
Um, so I don't know. We'll see what happens there. They've gotten that bag of magazines. They're mad. They're realizing, I'm sure that yeah, I think you're right. If they don't get arrested, their next move would probably be to go to Maeve's house.
Yeah, that's what worries me. Now that they've discovered this,
Yeah.
if I mean, maybe the FBI's, they think FBI would never look for us back at Robbie's house. So if we figure that either the drugs or the money that came from the drugs is at Robbie's house, that's where we've got to go. And the only people that are there are Maeve, her friend, and the two kids. So that's what worries me a little bit.
Yeah, unless Perry can convince Jason to finally just give up on this,
Yeah, yeah,
or maybe Perry can't convince Jason to give up on it and ends up killing Jason,
yeah.
or again, various things are possible.
Well,
Various things are
one
possible.
of them is gonna one of them is gonna have to kill the other, right? Either Perry killed Jason because he won't give up, or he finds out about Aaron, or Jason kills Perry because he finds out about Aaron. I mean, that's a prediction I feel safe in making, but of course, and I'm probably completely wrong about that.
Yeah, again, we've done a poor job of, but I mean, I think part of it is that there are various possibilities. So we're talking through those. Lizzie dies. Not the biggest surprise to me that she was the one who ended up dying in all of this. Thoughts about how that went down, though?
Yeah, we revisited that scene, a lot of things that we have seen or had referenced before, right? She didn't freeze. She shot the Dark Arts member when she had to. Unfortunately, Grasso did as well, which is what led to her hearing loss, that led to her, getting run over by the truck and not being able to move out of the way in time. Aaliyah's, crack shot abilities came up in this scene. But yeah, now that we knew that Grasso was the mole, now that we know Aaliyah is sort of the straight-laced, I can, I'm the best member of this team and of various different things. It sort of became like, all right, by process of elimination, Lizzie's going to be the one that has to make the sacrifice here.
Yeah, and I mean also because of her budding relationship with Grasso and all of that,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
um, which I think has worked well. In that scene when Grasso tells the Dark Arts guy, he says something like, "If you hurt her, I'll kill you."
yeah.
I believed him.
I believe him too. Yeah, I think that Grasso is. Part of me thinks, maybe all of me thinks, he's not in this by choice. Something
Yeah,
happened. He got caught up in something. They bailed him out on something. They have leverage on him. Something. He's not a bad guy. He just has to play both sides because they've got him by the neck in some capacity.
yeah, I tend to think so too. I wonder what that might be. Maybe what's the guy's name again? I keep wanting to call him Bagsley. Um,
Michael
maybe
Dorsey, I think.
Michael Dorsey, maybe his boss guy there, um, somehow roped him into doing things in the first place, or something
Yeah,
like that.
very, very interesting relationship between those two. Kind of like an abusive father of sorts. Kind of like, yeah, somebody who took him under his wing and showed him the dark side of being part of the police force and what how you can benefit yourself. And now he's out. Now he's in it and can't get out of it.
Yeah, something like that, right? Um, and the specter is raised in the scene between the two of them of the possibility of Grasso deciding to cooperate and fess
Yeah,
up,
yeah, yeah,
um, which of course he's told to not do,
yeah,
with some violence, um, because he's sad for sure that Lizzie has died and so on. So I don't know how that's going to come to a head. And again, circling back to it, the way that Tom goes over there and says, "I'm coming for you," started making me worry about Tom again.
yeah, yeah. That's probably the central decision as to whether it's at all possible for this to be a second season show or not. If we lose everybody, I mean, clearly we're done. But yeah, if I'm Tom, I'm not going over there alone and accusing Grasso of what he's accusing him of. Maybe because he's under investigation, he's under so much heat that he knows he's not going to do anything to him. But yeah, I mean that was certainly a bold move right there.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, why do you do that? I guess the motivation, it makes sense, I guess. The motivation has to be something like this, that, we've been on the same team, we've been working together, we have a relationship.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you the opportunity to fess up right
to
now.
do to do the right thing. Both Grasso and Robbie have spent time talking to Tom about forgiveness and about justification and mercy and these ideas of what does it take to get past the things that you've done wrong? And Grasso has a little bit of that in their conversation towards
Yeah.
the end of this episode. So he's looking for the answer. I just don't know if Tom's ready to give that to him since he sold out his task force.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting theme, right? Because, of course, we can think about forgiveness in the context of Christianity. We have Tom's background as a priest. Grasso's asking him about confession,
Hmm.
which is
Hmm.
something I've always thought is interesting. I've never been Catholic. I've never gone to confession personally, but it's always seemed to me that what Tom says is basically right.
Yeah,
The confession is a human practice, right?
right.
That's for you. It's not for God.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So, but then I think it also should get us thinking about the difference, I don't know, conceptually and practically, I guess, between a notion of like divine forgiveness
Hmm.
versus human forgiveness.
Yep.
And here's Tom himself feeling unable to forgive his son Ethan.
Yes.
Um, he could talk the talk, as a priest,
Yeah.
but when it comes down to it in this more concrete way, can he forgive? And I think
Yeah.
that that is something that's going to factor in to the finale next week for
Yeah, it's
sure.
much easier, I imagine. I've never been a priest nor dealt with any kind of confession, but much easier to tell people to forgive others than to have to actually put it into practice and do it yourself.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was going to say always. I guess I could say always. I've always found the concept to be interesting, but maybe I don't mean quite always because I do have a particular kind of reference point in terms of the way the notion of forgiveness factors in Hegel's
Yeah.
philosophy, um, where I think it's really clear, and I bought it fully in on this line personally in terms of thinking about forgiveness, that there is something in forgiveness itself that is sort of transcendent, right? In other words, if you accept someone's reasons,
Hmm.
well, potentially you're excusing them.
Yeah.
That's not forgiving them. I think
That's right.
in
That's
my
right.
mind, there's a conceptual distinction, right? So it's only really forgiveness when it is you're still in the space of thinking of what they did as a wrong,
Hmm.
but you're forgiving it. You're
Yep.
absolving
Yep.
it. In a way where you could never say that you should or you ought to, right? Or so anyway,
Yeah.
that's how I think about it, which is like I also think a very Christian way to think about it, but so with Tom and Ethan, that's going to come to a head in some way,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I think there will be some thematic resonance and some connection between Tom and Grosso and Tom and Ethan that we'll see in this finale. Again, that for that one, I hope we're right about that.
Yeah, I hope so too. And we can tie it back into thinking about Robbie, right? Beyond any ideas of right doing and wrongdoing is also getting at some space of transcendence or something like that,
Right.
right? And I think you could think about it in this way. Tom can forgive Robbie, even though Robbie's a bad guy and he's done all this
Right.
stuff, you know what I mean? Can kind of enter into that sort of space. I don't know if he can forgive Grasso, but it's also in that scene where they're talking about confession. Part of the point, right, is that you actually are contrite in some way,
Yes.
you know. So if Grasso isn't, I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
rambling around about Christianity and forgiveness now, I guess.
That's part of what I hope we see in the finale is what type of person is Grosso actually? We've known him as um a compassionate person, just his FBI partner. We've known him as a mole within the partner with the dark arts. But is he someone who, it's not as simple as thinking of it as wrongdoing and right doing or good and evil, but is he someone who is is compassionate and looks to, yeah, I actually want to try to save this person or save this situation or get out of this, or is he just, no, I'm a part of this. I'm a part of this, this organization or what's happening here, and I just that's all I
Yeah.
can be. That's all I can do.
Yeah. does he try to weasel his way out of it? Is he a
Yep.
weasel? Or um does he in some way come clean
Yeah.
in a redemptive kind of way?
I was gonna
Those
say,
are the two
is
main
there a
possibilities,
redemptive
yeah.
hero moment coming for Grasso? That's what I'm very interested to see.
Yeah, me too. You want to talk about Sam a little bit more, maybe? I feel like we haven't talked about Sam enough. I'm not sure what I want to say. She
Yeah,
mentioned in
just
our
a
notes he got
you
his
know, it's
Lego.
so in that scene, so it reflected back to one of the first times we saw Sam, and he's with Robbie after they've taken him from his home, and he says, my parents told me once I finished, all of the books and read all the things I was assigned, I'd be able to get my Batman Legos. Am I going to be able to get my Batman Legos? And then when he walks into Tom's house holding that, got a few little things building up in my eyes at that moment. 'Cause I just
Yeah,
thought, man, Sam has been going through it, and he just needs something like this. Whether or not that's Tom's house, I don't know. It's a very odd situation, but just to see that someone actually cares about him and hopefully can give him the attention that he needs. Yeah, just I'll be interested to see where Sam ends up at the end of the finale.
yeah, me too. And Maeve too took him to the store to get the Batman Lego, and he didn't get the Legos that night either.
Didn't get it. Yeah, yeah.
He's finally got it's like he's a sweet kid, you know.
Making Gertie out of Legos. Yeah,
I don't know that the plan is even that Sam's going. I mean that Tom is going to like adopt him or
yeah,
anything. Although that would be I don't know, cool, I guess,
yeah.
but that he's taking him in as opposed to him being in that facility, right? So
That's right.
I think
That's
the
right.
plan is still for Sam to be taken, to have other foster parents or be adopted by someone else. But we'll see how this plays out.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see what happens there. It did resonate the fact that when he goes to see Sam, I mean, I thought before they explained what was going on there that he was walking into the prison to see Ethan. And
Me
then they say,
too.
well, he's actually seeing Sam, but he is in a prison that was turned into some sort of youth facility or foster facility. Um, and yeah, just this the resonance there of what's going to happen in this situation and how does Ethan play into it? And Ethan's going to prison for some amount of time, and so does Sam sort of become the proxy for, I can do right by somebody. Be curious to see what happens there.
Yeah, me too. And the family dynamics and um we didn't really get to meet Sarah's estranged husband.
No, we just saw him and he's gone with the baby.
They've been talking about him the whole show.
I know.
When's Andy coming? Yeah. Guess he's not really going to be a character in the show unless he
Yeah, yeah.
shows up in some way next week. So yeah, I think that about covers it. Anything else you want to hit on before we wrap up here?
No, I loved this episode. Loved it, loved it. Um, I don't. I hope the finale can live up to the level of this one, but we'll see. A lot of to loose ends still be tied up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least I hope it ends well.
Yeah,
It's fine. I mean, it's not uncommon for like the penultimate episode to be the best episode of a series,
yes, that's
And
right.
so episode seven, the finale, doesn't necessarily have to be quote unquote better, but hopefully it ends the series well. I agree. This one was really good. You've got your action sequences. I mean, you mentioned tearing up about Sam. Yeah. And four or five other times too. You could point to where it was like, oh, eyes are wet. Um,
Will
so
will Tom Pelphrey for lead and Fabian Frankel for supporting get Emmy nominations for this show? If you ask me right now, I'd say yes.
probably winning is another question.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, I don't know about the Emmys anymore, man. Do you nominate two for lead?
Yeah, I
Is
mean, I
that,
think I expressed this last week. I'd give it to Pelfrey, but maybe Ruffalo has a big moment coming in the finale. I don't know.
yeah, agreed. I think Ruffalo did win for I Know This Much Is True.
Okay, yeah.
I've been thinking about that show a bit. I suppose these are the similarities. It's an HBO miniseries with Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also pretty heavy. I mean, I know this much is true. It's arguably heavier than Task. So, but all right, looking forward to the finale next week. Thanks as always for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed the podcast. If so, please do leave a good rating, review, all that good stuff. If you're on YouTube, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Greatly appreciate it. You can follow TV Obsessive on social media. If you search for TV Obsessive, you should find us. And do check out the website, tvobsessive.com, where you can find written work on any number of TV shows, past and present. We'll be back with you next week for the finale of Task.
Looking forward to it. See you then.